All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my thoughts on which NFC East teams have improved or gotten worse during the NFL offseason. So I'll be covering all four teams in the NFC East. I'll start off with my Dallas Cowboys. I do believe that the Dallas Cowboys have improved during the NFL's offseason. I think the Dallas Cowboys got better during the NFL offseason. They improved their roster, and I'm proud of the moves that Jerry Jones and Steve Jones did in the front office during the NFL offseason thus far. I'm glad we're running it back with our offense. No changes really on the offensive side of the ball. We were a top 5 offense in the league last year. The problem was the defense. We were one of, if not the worst defense in the NFL. We franchise tagged George Pickens. He's guaranteed to be a Dallas Cowboy for this upcoming NFL season, if not traded. But I'm happy about that because CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is one of the best wide receiver duos in the league. We re-signed Javonte Williams to a new contract. Our bell cow running back is back. Had a really good year in the backfield last year for us. And Brandon Aubrey, one of the best kickers in the league, has re-signed to a long-term deal to be a Dallas Cowboy for the sake of the future, which is pretty awesome because anywhere on the field, Brandon Aubrey is a weapon to possibly put up 3 points on the board for us. So I'm happy with what we're doing on the offense side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, we improved. And it started after the Week 18 loss against the New York Giants. We fired Matt Eberflus. We brought in Christian Parker as our new defensive coordinator. Brought him over from the Philadelphia Eagles. Was a phenomenal DBs coach in the NFL over the last couple of years. Caleb Downs, we drafted in the NFL draft with the 11th overall pick. Caleb Downs, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best overall player that was a part of the 2026 NFL draft class. And we also got better at the pass rush position, as edge rusher position, I should say. We traded for Rashawn Gary, another edge rusher. We drafted Malachi Lawrence. A lot of people believed that he was a reach, but this was a guy that was going to go day 2 in the second round. We just didn't have a second round pick. And after doing more homework on Malachi Lawrence, I am a big fan of what he could do as an edge rusher, and he's going to grow. He had a 4.5 40 time in the NFL draft combine. And D. Winters, that we traded with the San Francisco 49ers, bringing in D. Winters at the linebacker position. I think he's going to be a really good player to play alongside Overshown at the linebacker position. And the Cowboys also upgraded the secondary. The secondary was a big issue for the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, we drafted Caleb Downs, like I just mentioned. We brought in Kobe Durant, cornerback from the Los Angeles Rams last season. I think Kobe Durant actually was a pretty solid corner for the Los Angeles Rams last year. They just upgraded the position. So Kobe Durant, they just let walk in free agency. Jalen Thompson, safety from the Arizona Cardinals, was a good tag team partner with Budda Baker out there in Arizona as good quality safeties in the league. So I like this. And we didn't have too many key departures. Look, anybody that we lost at linebacker, I don't give a damn about really, because anybody other than Overshown playing the linebacker position could have went. Osa Digizua was a big disappointment at first for me, but I can understand why we moved off of Odigizua. I wish we could have got more than a 3rd round pick for him from the San Francisco 49ers. But I don't think Odigizua was going to be a fit in Christian Parker's defense. We're going from a 4-3 defense to a 3-4 defense under Christian Parker's scheme. So I don't think Odigizua was going to be used too much in this 3-4 scheme. So honestly, I think we improved. And honestly, if the Dallas Cowboys keep their head on a swivel, I think this is a team that can honestly crack 10, 11 wins next year in the NFC, because you already have a top 5 offense. And with defensive stops, some turnovers, and stopping your opponent from scoring 30 points or more on you in a game, you have a chance to compete with some of the best teams in the NFC. So I think we improved. I'm looking at the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants clearly improved. And they showed that day 1 in the offseason as they got things under control when they got John Harbaugh, the best head coach on the market. And John Harbaugh is a proven winner in the NFL. Former Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens. One of the best regular season coaches that the NFL has to offer today. Had a lot of playoff success with the Baltimore Ravens. Playoff experience that he's going to bring to New York for the New York Giants. And they upgraded their roster. I'm looking at Tremont Edmonds at the linebacker position. I'm looking at Darnell Mooney at the wide receiver position. I'm looking at Greg Newsome they could use at the cornerback position in their secondary. Isaiah Likely at tight end is a huge upgrade in the tight end room. I think he's going to have a big role in this New York Giants offense. And the Giants, I said it weeks ago, they had one of the best drafts in the NFL. They were clear winners of the NFL draft this year. They drafted Arvell Reese 5th overall from Ohio State, and I said Arvell Reese was the Micah Parsons of this NFL draft class. Remember when the Cowboys drafted Micah Parsons from Penn State a few years ago? Arvell Reese, it was just like Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons didn't have a guaranteed position, and Arvell Reese is an off-ball linebacker and an edge rusher. 10th overall. Thank you again for not drafting Caleb Downs, but 10th overall, they drafted Francis, I don't want to butcher his last name, the offensive lineman from Miami, to improve their offensive line. And then, of course, they also hit on some other draft picks, drafted Colton Hood, cornerback from Tennessee, one of the best corners in the draft in the second round. They drafted Malachi Fields, wide receiver from Notre Dame. He could eventually grow and become a valuable piece in the New York Giants wide receiver room. And they did have some key departures, yes. They traded away Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's how they got the 10th overall pick. They're going to be missing him as a defensive tackle. They lost Wan'Dale Robinson, who walked to free agency and signed with the Tennessee Titans, had an over 1,000-yard receiving year for the New York Giants last year. And Bobby Okereke, who they released at the linebacker position. But overall, I do think they improved, and I think the New York Giants could be a sleeper team next year. And now, improved. I'm in the middle between improved and gotten worse with the Washington Commanders. Now, they did have some good moves during the offseason, some sneaky moves. They brought in Odofe Owe as an edge rusher. They also brought in Kaylavin Chason. I'm going to say that again as I got tongue-tied. Kaylavin Chason to boost their pass rush. And they also added in Nick Cross, former safety from the Indianapolis Colts, to be a part of the Washington Commanders roster on the defensive side of the ball. And I do give the Washington Commanders credit for hitting on the first-round pick in Stoney Styles. Stoney Styles was a part of the Ohio State Buckeyes team, and covering Stoney Styles, I said whoever is going to get their hands on him is going to get a generational player at the linebacker position. He plays the linebacker's position in an old-school style, like a former great linebackers played, like Brian Urlacher or Patrick Willis played at the linebacker position. He can hit hard, tackle well in open space. Good overall playmaker that the Washington Commanders just got on the defensive side of the ball. And they did have some key departures a part of the team, like Cliff Kingsbury. I don't understand why they let Cliff Kingsbury leave as their offensive coordinator. We know how much success he helped Jaden Daniels have in his rookie year. I thought they could have re-signed Bobby Wagner during the NFL offseason, and he's still a free agent out there on the market. But Bobby Wagner and Stoney Styles at the linebacker position, I think that could have been pretty cool to see. Plus, Bobby Wagner could have been that bridge player to help Stoney Styles grow and develop in the NFL. But you didn't get any significant wide receivers, which is a red flag to me. And you still only have Terry McLaurin. They let Deebo Samuel walk, who's still a free agent. The overall health of Jaden Daniels heading into his third year in the NFL, that's a big question mark in year 3. So we'll see how this plays out for the Washington Commanders. And a tweener again, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm on the fence. I think the Eagles are tweeners of they improved their roster, but they've also gotten worse. So I think they're in between, and rightfully so. I'll call them tweeners. I believe that they're tweeners. The Philadelphia Eagles are. They've somewhat improved their roster and somewhat has gotten worse in the NFL offseason thus far. Now, hear me out on that. Because, don't get me wrong, you did do some good things to add some depth pieces and some replacements for the Philadelphia Eagles this offseason. They drafted Malachi Lemon, 20th overall from USC, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL draft class. You traded for Jonathan Greenard, an outside linebacker, and you signed Tyreek Woolen at the cornerback position during the NFL offseason. But again, like I just said, these players feel like replacements for the talent that they've lost or they're prepared to lose before week 1 of the NFL season. Because they've already lost players like Jalen Phillips, edge rusher, that signed with the Carolina Panthers during the offseason. Reed Blankenship at the safety position. I believe he went to the Houston Texans during the NFL offseason. Christian Parker, your defensive backs coach, who helped the Philadelphia Eagles secondary become one of the best secondary units in the league. You let him slide to the Dallas Cowboys, an NFC East rival, and he's our defensive coordinator now. And they also lost Nakobe Dean at the linebacker position. They're eventually going to lose A.J. Brown at the wide receiver position. That's some big daggers in the roster if you're the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. Now, again, you do have some replacements, like I just said, but overall, that talent and that coach, I think those could be crucial departures that the Philadelphia Eagles might not recover from as we head into week 1. And do the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a question for you guys. Do you guys really believe that Malachi Lemon and Hollywood Brown and Wicks, the wide receiver they traded for from the Green Bay Packers, can replace a top 10 wide receiver like A.J. Brown? And this is already a run-first offense that had one of the fewest pass attempts in the league last year. So, I don't know. Maybe I might be wrong on this, but I think they're tweeners, and they've somewhat gotten worse, but somewhat improved their roster during the offseason. And I do like what they did in the draft. Don't get me wrong. I think they drafted well. Eli Stowers, tight end from Vanderbilt. Oh, that's going to be their future starting tight end for over a aging Dallas Goedert. But I don't know, guys. I feel like the Eagles are definitely going to regret letting A.J. Brown go once they trade him post June 1st, most likely to the New England Patriots. I don't know if Malachi Lemon is just ready for the NFL just yet in terms of maturity, because if Jalen Hurts can't get the ball to him down the field, that's a guy that already has some questionable leadership skills and questionable crash outs. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But I think overall, those are the teams that I do believe improved and somewhat improved and gotten worse during the NFL offseason in the NFC East.